Hello, folks, and welcome to this hurricane season short summary. Going to be a longer one here as we are going to be going over all of the much more notable storms from the 1933 hurricane season. But before we get into the season summary, a quick look at Hurricane 12, which actually, although it doesn't look like it, did indeed make landfall on North Carolina and then into Nova Scotia and Newfoundland or Newfoundland. I'm going to trigger people with that pronunciation. I'm sorry. Just a interesting track becoming a Category 4 in open water and then barely hitting North Carolina. And also mentions go to Hurricane 17 here, which had a direct straight shot north and then abruptly turned away from the United States. Just an interesting track to see. Out of those two, we also have 18 others, which is, well, a lot. Just to look at our chronology and the storm tracks, that's a lot. And therefore, reasonably assume that we had a well above average season. If you assumed that already, then you'd be correct, with 20 tropical storms, 11 hurricanes, and 6 major hurricanes, which is, again, just well above average. This would cause a seasonal ACE of 258.6, a record not broken to this day, which is insane, as this record as of 2023 is 90 years old. Again, just look at our chronology. The amounts of almost constant activity is just insane. Something that is rarely seen, even with something like 2005. Um, you just have a lot of storms going on at the same time, but just constant. This season, in total, would see the deaths of 651 individuals and cause 86.6 million 1933 US dollars in damage. Our first look is going to be at Hurricane 2. Hurricane 2 has a very notable path, although it may not seem like that. First off, Hurricane 2 was spotted by ship. A circulation was reported 2,100 kilometers to the east of Trinidad on June 24th. It would then take 3 days to become a hurricane, doing so on the 27th, and then landfalling on Trinidad on June 27th and Venezuela on June 28th. This is one of the only storms to landfall in Venezuela, surprisingly. This storm would also cause another landfall would happen. This would be on July 1st on the very tip of western Cuba with wind speeds of 100 miles per hour. This storm would then peak on the 4th. Honestly, a little surprised it hadn't done so already, at 110 miles per hour at a minimum pressure of 965 millibars. The final landfall from this storm would be at this peak at La Pesca, Mexico on the 8th of July. Due to Central America's very mountainous interior, so relatively close to the coast, storms that strike Central America tend to dissipate extremely rapidly, and this was the case for Hurricane 2. This storm, despite having no fewer than 4 landfalls, you would expect to see a lot of damage done and a lot of fatalities, especially considering that this is 1933. However, this storm is only reported to have caused 35 deaths and $7.2 million in damage. This is still 35 too many people and $7.2 million too much. But for even this being a more on the stronger end hurricane relatively, not many systems even make it to hurricane strength, in the grand scheme. You would just expect a much more impactful storm. Thankfully, this did not happen. Moving on to Hurricane 6. Hurricane 6, as you can see here, almost like Hurricane 12 in some respects, becoming a Category 5 in open water and landfalling in the mid-Atlantic states. I almost lost the term there. Hurricane 6 would become a depression off the African coast and then a tropical storm very soon after this. Around the 14th of August, this was to the south of the Cape Verde Islands as well. A ship report then comes in August 20th, some time past, reporting wind speeds of 140 miles per hour, and the ship reported a pressure of around 950 or so millibars. This was estimated to actually be a minimum of 940, as the ship was not in the center of the storm, thankfully. 6 would then take some time to landfall, striking Nags Head, North Carolina on the 23rd of August with wind speeds of 90 miles per hour. The eye of this storm would actually cross over Norfolk, Virginia, the first time that an eye of a storm had done so since 1821, believe it or not. So over 100 years. That's that's good, if anything. That is good. Just due to how almost relatively prone to flooding upper, uh, the Northeast, I'll say, is. We're seeing that with Vermont and New Hampshire, unfortunately, right now. There was some pretty heavy flooding, despite the storm being very well forecasted for the time. The heaviest rainfall, and as an example here, would be or just around, what is that, 13, 14 inches, 337 millimeters to be exact, in York, Pennsylvania. The Northeast would not see worse flooding from a tropical system until 1972's Agnes, believe it or not. So almost 40 years, 39 to be exact, of course. This storm would tragically kill 47 people and cause 41.2 million US dollars in damage. Hurricane 8 is another powerful, much more powerful storm here. Hurricane 8 is seen to be a tropical depression to the south of the Cape Verde Islands on August 22nd. 8 takes some time to become a tropical storm, doing so 4 days later, so we're on the 26th now, then becoming a hurricane on the 28th. I think that we can see where that this is going. Some rapid intensification takes place, peaking on the 30th. Estimated wind speeds are 160 miles per hour with an estimated minimum pressure of 930 millibars. Both of these are estimates due to the fact that if I were a ship captain, I would not want to plunge my ship straight into the center of a powerful storm, obviously. So these are estimates based off of some ship reports here. 8 would landfall on the very edge of northern Cuba on September 1st. Thankfully, the winds had dwindled at this point, reaching 120 miles per hour. The final landfall would be at South Padre Island on September 5th at wind speeds of 125 miles per hour. South Padre Island would be absolutely devastated by this storm. The island close to vanishing, if anything, which is obviously not good for an island. Also, this hurricane made landfall close to Labor Day weekend. This drove the mandation of evacuations in Corpus Christi, and even the fact that Corpus Christi was put under martial law for a short time, which is pretty insane, all things considered. That is kind of, it's odd, but seeing the intensity of the storm needed. This was seen as a over precaution. However, it still saved the lives of thousands. The highest rainfall from the storm would be seen in Mercedes, Texas, not Mercedes Benz, Germany, we all know that Germany has a town called Mercedes-Benz. How else would the company even be a thing? This rainfall reached 380 millimeters, which is what? That is almost what, a foot and a third. So what, close to 14, 15 inches. Eight would still see the deaths of 179 individuals and cause just under 28 million US dollars in damage. Our last storm here, I promise this is the last one, is Hurricane 14. Hurricane 14 was officially seen as a tropical depression on the 16th of September, and just by the 19th had become a hurricane. A ship report then comes in on the 21st, estimating wind speeds of 160 miles per hour from this report, as well as an estimated minimum pressure of 929 millibars. 14 would landfall, unlike Hurricane 2, on the Yucatan Peninsula on the 22nd of September, reaching wind speeds of 140 miles per hour. It was originally assumed to be 160 to even 190, actually. This was downgraded upon reanalysis. 14 would then landfall on Tampico, Mexico on September 25th at wind speeds of 110 miles per hour. 14 would cause extensive damage to Tampico, damaging 75% of all homes, around 50% of all structures overall, and I believe it was seeing around a third of the population perish tragically. This is where the at least 184 deaths comes from, and round as an estimated 5 million US dollars in damage. This season was, again, just an absolute monster. I mean, again, just look at our chronology. That is truly insane. Not to mention that Hurricane 2 is one of the most easternmost storms to form in the MDR. The MDR is short for the Main Development Region, and this picture here, to be honest, I should have replaced this, is a little bit generous, especially towards the west. Many sources or many images that I saw put this to be a lot further, ending a lot further east. However, I managed to pick the wrong thing to say easternmost, as many storms form uh, to the north of South America. So, you know, that's the wrong image by me, by the way. That's I did insert that white line to try and show where most sources put the MDR at. Hurricane 2 is also one of the earliest storms to strike Venezuela, and like I said before, one of the only storms to strike Venezuela. Before Hurricane 2, only two others have been known to strike Venezuela, and I believe that as of 2015, this is, or just as of now, I should say, that this is the last storm tropical system to strike Venezuela, and also not strike the Yucatan Peninsula as well. It took that northerly approach, which is odder for a system going so far south. The 33 hurricane season also held the record for the largest number of named storms. As you can expect, 2005 decided to break that record because, after all, it is the 2005 hurricane season, a fairly notable one, if I do say so myself. This season is one of only 7 seasons with more than one Category 5 and had 15 landfalls out of 20 known storms, which is just mind-boggling. That is a lot of landfalls in just one season. Many seasons struggle to obtain that. Again, just to talk about the constant activity, again, from June to October, there is only a combined stretch of 14 days where there was no tropical system active, which is usually a lot longer than that. So, again, just an insanely active season. In fact, this is the fourth most active on record 2005 and 2020 are up there as well. And for the life of me, I am forgetting the fourth. Or sorry, I'm forgetting the third. But and lastly, though, that this season still has the highest annual ace in the entirety of the North Atlantic Basin to date. The 2005 season does indeed come close, reaching, I believe it's 230 or 215, but the 258 is just obviously just insane. But with that, folks, that is all that I have for the 1933 hurricane season. I hope that you all learned something from this video. I know I certainly did researching it, although I managed to unfortunately lose all but one of my sources. With that said, folks, again, that's what I have. Once again, I thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.